Welcome back. We're coming to you from Ramallah and Tel Aviv today, discussing the future of Palestinian-Israeli relations with our youth panel. And I want to bring in from Ramallah, Shada Musallam. You have an interesting background, Christian father and Muslim mother, but also interestingly divided across this land.
Yes, because first of all, I was born in Tunisia because my father is Palestinian, but he couldn't enter Palestine because the Israeli denied his entry. My mother is a Palestinian who was born and lived in Lebanon, so I have relatives there. And then we came after the Oslo Agreement. We lived in the West Bank, but my grandmother and aunts have the Jerusalem ID, which means they are inside the wall or outside the wall.
It depends which way you see it. Yeah.
And so I can go there for Christmas or for New Year's Eve, and I can see them only in special occasions when they cross the wall and come to visit us.
Do you expect your family to be able to ever reunite in any way?
I hope so, but not, to be serious, not in our lifetime, because first of all, the wall has to be eliminated completely because it's forming a prison around the Palestinian territories. I think the first step is to eliminate the wall, and then we can start talking about the peace process.
Dana Sender in Tel Aviv, tell us your story.
Well, basically, I was born and raised in Israel, but just like many of the people sitting here around me and Israelis and all, my origins are divided from different parts of the world. In '48, the world decided that Israel needs a state, and us Jews need a place that we can call home. And so my grandparents, just as a lot of other people, came to Israel and established this place. And Israel, as we know it, is a miracle of the 20th century. Everything that was developed and created here in the good of our people and in the world.
I was going to say, in terms of, you know, where Israel stands, though, in a state of conflict with the Palestinians, obviously things aren't right for either side. So what do you think, what chance, in your lifetime, do you think there is a chance of fixing things?
I truly hope so. I mean, hope is what we have, and we need to think about our future and our children. But at the moment, I'm sorry to say, I see these young, lovely Palestinians sitting in front of me, and I would like to meet them and speak to them and promote any peace that I can. But right now, it's not a conflict between Israelis and Palestinians. It's a conflict between moderates and extremists. And as long as there is violence going on, and while we're under a threat, consistent threat, it's very difficult to keep giving and giving as we gave Gaza without getting anything back.
Samer Al-Khatta, you were born in Gaza. Give me your story, your family story.
Yes, I was born in Gaza City, and I have been here in Ramallah for 2 years, and I didn't return to Gaza. About the hope of peace, I think the peace is a dream for every Palestinian, for all the Palestinian people. But I think, as we saw in the treatment and the conferences of peace to achieve peace, you know, the Israel side always break these agreements. So I don't believe in peace.
Do you believe in peace, or you don't expect it?
No, for me, I believe in peace. But I think we cannot achieve it with the Israeli side.
Ruby Waldman in Tel Aviv, give us your perspective. Give us where you've come from and how you regard the prospects of peace.
I was born in the States. My parents made Aliyah to Israel after their parents went through the Holocaust. I mean, I've been in Israel already for 20 years. And I think that the question of peace is very tricky because the conflict didn't start 60 years ago. The conflict started when Zionism started. Zionism was a product of the fact that there was a lot of anti-Semitism in Europe and the Jews needed a solution. They needed a country. Zionism started in the 1920s. The Arabs we had a lot of tension with them in Israel, and we had violent clashes with the Arabs here with the Palestinians. With time, as time progressed, the Israelis were willing to accept a division, and they weren't willing to accept the division, and we were willing to accept, so on and so forth. And then we went to war for different reasons that the Arabs didn't want to accept Israel as an entity in this region, and we were here to stay. I think the situation hasn't changed much. At the same time, I am optimistic. I think that us, the young generation, we understand that both the Israelis and the Palestinians are here to stay, And I hope that together that we'll be able to talk and to understand that we're going to each need to make sacrifices to live together in peace.
One of the young Palestinians we have here in Ramallah is Khalid Sabawi. Khalid, I want you to tell me your story, just a basic outline, and then tell me what real prospects for peace you think there might be.
My father was born in the village of Salama, which has been erased off the map in 1948. My mother was born in Gaza, and they lived a history of dispossession and loss. They later recovered in the Middle East, in the Arab world, where I was born in Kuwait along with my siblings. And when we heard there was a country out there like Canada that provided you citizenship, regardless of your racial background or ethnicity, they moved there right away, where I was raised. Now, with regards to prospects of peace, now, the conclusion that this situation will end in endless conflict is predicated on a history that we choose to remember and one that we prefer to forget. Palestinians and Jews lived peacefully before the Zionist colonization of Palestine began. Now, in saying so, although it's, they did live peacefully together and they can do that again, there are numerous obstacles that are in the way. Most of them are in direct violation of international law and the result of the actions of Israel. In 1967, Israel ventured into an intentionally irreversible program of Jewish-only settlements, land confiscations, and seizures of property, as well as the systematic dissolution and transfer of the Palestinian population. These are in direct violation of Article 49 of the Fourth Geneva Convention. The occupation in itself that it did in 1967 is illegal. It's against Security Council Resolution 242.
So you think unless those are fixed, there is no prospect for peace?
Absolutely. Look, I mean, people think that this conflict is covered by a cloud of ideological fog, but that's a complete misconception. If you look at the basics and you bring it down to international law, it's quite clear what is going on. Israel is in direct violation of these covenants of international law.
I know, Noah, you're actually one who wants equality between Israelis and Palestinians. Tell me what you think is getting in the way.
I think that the problem is with our leadership and the Palestinian leadership. It is using religion as a shield, as a defense, as a way to hide the real people, the real reality, the matter that is being hurt. I mean, in the name of Allah or in the name of God, nothing is worth for you or for me to get killed.
Shada, you were shaking your head a little bit at the beginning there. Why?
Because, first of all, I hope I'm speaking on behalf of all the Palestinians. We don't have a problem with the Jewish religion. If you were Muslims or Christian and wanted to take our land and kill our children and put them in prisons and just move Palestinians away from their legitimate place, we would have a problem with you. It's not about you being Jewish. It's about you wanting to control the land that we were already on.
So, Omar, if I could ask you to respond to that idea that perhaps from the Palestinian perspective, it's not an issue of religion, it's a question of territory, it's a question of land.
Well, first of all, we have no intention of killing any children or women or men or anyone in the Palestinian community. It's not our aim or goal. I don't know anyone of my friend or in this country that wants to do it intentionally. I can add that this conflict is not only because of religion. It's because of the use of extremism in all aspects in the Palestinian Authority. You can see it in the education system. You can see it in on television. It's all around. It's in the streets. Everybody's talking about it, and it comes out as the previous Palestinian who just spoke. I didn't catch the name, but she just said exactly what is given to her all the time, all day long, and it's simply untrue, and
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
and that is part of the problem. The way it's pushed in the Palestinian community.
Omar, let me get a quick response from Shada, and then Mohammed, I'll come to you.
Nobody's feeding me this. I see it every day when I cross from my house to my university, how I am being treated on the checkpoints, how I see people being treated, how when every time I want to get out with my friends, there is an Israeli intrusion on the city. They start shooting, bombing, helicopters all around. Nobody's telling me this. I'm seeing it with my own eyes.
Let me get, before I get to Mohammed, let me get to Moshe and ask. Moshe, I know, like obviously other young other young Israelis, you have to serve in the military as well. I know your experience with interactions with Palestinians in the Palestinian areas is through that military service. Listening to what you're hearing here, how do you respond to that? The feeling that on one side there is oppression and it's done with guns. On the other side, obviously, you feel that it's a security issue.
Yeah, Riz. Well, I think that in general, the soldiers in the Israeli army, at least what I see for myself when I'm serving in the reserves and when I was serving in during my military service, and also my friends, is that we are not there with the intention of oppressing anyone. We definitely don't kill people for no reason at all, or just stop people and beat them up like you hear in the news. That's absolutely not the case. We're there for security reasons. I mean, if we were not there, then as we saw, there would just be a steady stream of suicide bombers and rockets in our cities. And I think that became very clear when Israel left the West Bank cities during the Oslo process, and instead of peace, we got suicide bombers. And when we left the Gaza Strip, and there was no longer any Israeli soldiers in any Palestinians' faces, and we got barrages of rockets on our cities. So I think it's clear that the reason why the Israeli army is there is for security reasons, and we don't just shoot innocent civilians. I don't know what they've been hearing in Ramallah.
Well, I'll tell you what, I know because you all want to respond, and I'm seeing hands going off, and so I'm going to try and make sure everyone gets a voice in there. Mohammed was waiting very patiently, so let's get a response there.
Yeah, I really don't know where to start. To Ahmed, I find it extremely patronizing that you tell me what I experienced, what I'm taught here in Ramallah. Like Shahzad said, I don't need to be taught about the nature of occupation when occupation has been my reality throughout my life and throughout my parents' and grandparents' lives. I don't need to be taught about checkpoints when I have to go through them every single day. I don't need to be taught about seeing people getting beaten up at random by soldiers when I've seen that with my own eyes, which is something that Moshe denies. And then I've seen everyone here paint this picture as a conflict between extremism and moderation. If we go back to, I don't want to go back to 1948, but I can. But let's start with the Oslo peace process. In the Oslo peace process, the Palestinian Authority and the PLO recognized Israel's right to exist. Israel did not recognize the rights of the Palestinian people. The Palestinian Authority and the PLO accepted a two-state solution whereby the Palestinians got 22% of their historical homeland. Moshe says that during the Oslo process, the Israelis pulled out from West Bank cities and they redeployed. Well, what happened was during the Oslo peace process, settlement activity increased by 100%. So by pulling out of these tiny areas and giving Palestinians limited self-rule, and then surrounding them with settlement blocks and military zones and enclaves and cutting them off from each other, you're not really doing anything conducive to peace.
Let me ask Ruby to respond to what you've been saying, but also, Ruby, to ask whether or not you think that an opportunity was missed here.
I think that there's no doubt about the fact that we recognize the fact that the Palestinians need a state. The whole Israeli community realizes that it's time for the Palestinians to have a state. I think the Palestinians don't yet realize how much Israel is willing to come forward and wants to go hand in hand and create a peace process that's true. If the peace process in 2000 with Barak was missed, I think it was missed by the Palestinian side. Barak was offering them 90-something% of the territories. Barak was offering them a foothold in Yerushalayim. It's true that they would have needed to make a couple of sacrifices, but so are we. And I think it's important to understand that when we speak peace and the terrorism just increases, it does not make sense on the Israeli side to continue talking. We need to defend ourselves. You can't speak peace when someone's hitting you, or bombing in your city, or launching rockets.
Okay, right. I know I know you really want to respond to this, guys, but we have to take a very short break. Bear with me. We're going to take a break on this special one-hour show. After, we'll be asking the young Israelis and Palestinians what they think about their respective leaders. More on this in just a moment.